Hi, it's Ari Santiago. Very excited to share this special episode of Made in America. We're at the 2019 Aerospace Components Manufacturers Trade Show. We've got some old friends that are going to come and talk to us and some new ones. I'm really excited to share this episode with you. Don't go anywhere. Hey, Pedro, thanks so much for coming on the Made in America podcast, recording live at the ACM Trade Show.
Yeah, very exciting. Thank you for having me.
No doubt, absolutely. Listen, so what brings you to the ACM Trade Show today? What are you guys showing off?
So, I'm the president of the ACM,
okay.
Which has been really an honor to help grow this organization. My company, my day job is Hygrade Precision Technologies in Plainville, Connecticut, and we're known as a single source metal finisher. So we do grinding, lapping, CNC machining, mostly as a service. So generally a lot of folks don't have grinding and lapping in their shops, so they'll send their parts to us.
So the parts to you guys.
And we turn them around and send them right back.
Gotcha. So what are you guys showing in your booth today? You have sample parts? And
parts.
Yeah,
yep.
Giving people the opportunity to see what you guys do?
Yeah, a lot of very shiny, flat things.
And that's what we do.
Yeah.
So before I get to kind of asking you more about the president of the ACM, which I think obviously given where we are today is hugely important.
Yes.
I want to talk a little about this morning. You know, we had about 1,500 students kind of coming around and meeting all these different manufacturers. And, you know, I'm interested in your take on kind of what the goal was and you being here to meet those kids and how it went. So
last year, we only had 687 kids show up, and we thought that we could do better. And we worked with a few organizations to really reach out and get the number of people here. And so you were right. We had basically 1,500 kids, another couple hundred community college students coming this afternoon, blowing past those numbers.
Absolutely.
So important for these kids to see manufacturing. To get it, I think their teachers do an awesome job of showing them what it is in like a physical concept, but then to translate that into like, this is a thing that you can do, right? You're meeting people that live and breathe this. These are parts you can make. I think it is really great to kind of turn on those lights, in their minds to say, oh, like that's the thing I want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, I'm sure there was at least one. I'm sure there were more kids who that happened, right? They saw the thing and they said, that's the thing I want to do. Inspire them to do something different. So were you in the booth when they were coming around? Were they asking good questions? They were asking great questions. And, there were kids, you would ask, well, what classes you're taking. It's like, oh, I'm doing some modeling, in terms of CNC modeling, right? I'm doing, learning about GD&T. I'm learning all this stuff. I mean, real nuts and bolts things. And to be able to have that knowledge at such a young age, they'll be starting out right out of the gate with really quickly. And so important. I mean, even at the lunch today, and I know as your role as president of ACM, you introduced a lot of the people. And I think one of the themes that we heard over and over again from speakers was workforce, right? The manufacturing that we do in Connecticut, that high value, precision, highly skilled manufacturing is growing. Right. And we need to be able to grow more workforce like that. What's ACM's role in helping develop that workforce? I think we have two roles. I think, first of all, we need to advocate for manufacturing in the state. And so, we try to do that through shows like this. But the other thing as well is that we need to impress to our member organizations that they need to do their part, that they need to do their own training, that they need to be going to schools, that they need to be, bringing in young people to show them what's happening. So I think that's kind of our role, is to sort of advocate both to our members and then advocate to the state at large. Sounds like you're putting ACM kind of at the juncture of a really important public-private partnership. Yes, definitely. And so so has ACM always played that role? Is that a new kind of active role ACM's doing now? I don't know how long you've kind of... It's, it's been something in the last 2 years we've really started to push harder. I think as we've had our member organizations, we've grown. I think we're now about 118 members. And financially, we're financially sound, and so we realized, we could make these investments ourselves and help kind of amp up some of these programs, help push the state, help advocate. We're nonpartisan, but I think that we've started joining with other organizations, such as CBIA, to kind of advocate and have a seat at the table. And why is that so important? What are you guys advocating for, and what could the public sector do to be more supportive? I think the most important thing for the public sector side is to be able to hear from one voice what manufacturing, what they need, what they want, and to be responsive to that. So, I think the one thing I think we have done to help government is we've been trying to speak ourselves with one voice rather than, have 10 or 12 different organizations kind of hit people at all levels of the state. And I think ultimately, the end result with the Secretary of Manufacturing or the Chief Manufacturing Officer with Colin Cooper is kind of the result of that. It's say, look, this is so important in the state. Just like David Lehman said, we're one of the most concentrated areas of manufacturing in the country in terms of jobs. So we need to have someone at the state level to help advocate for that and to guide. And I'm hopeful. I tend to be an optimist. It seems that this is the right thing to do. It feels focused. It feels business friendly. It feels like it's this good combination of government and business coming together. So time will tell.
So obviously kind of speaking with that one voice and joining together in a group like ACM to have that voice is super important. Are there other things that you think Hygrade gets from being a part of ACM and other companies get from being a part aside from that voice?
Yes. I think being part of an organization like this, first of all, just the own selfish reason, just being able to talk to your customers.
Yep.
Hygrade has about 250 customers and in any given year. Most of them are ACM members. So just that. Being able to collaborate and to share information on, we're some of the most ethical and professional companies out there. So it's great to be in a room where, your competitors, you're talking about things, but you're holding yourself to a level of ethics that, you're really talking about things that help everyone, but it's not in any way that, shady or collusion or anything that. So it's pretty nice to see that, being able to talk and being able to realize that your problems aren't unique. And that's definitely one of the reasons that I joined ACM was to be like, I want to talk to someone and say, hey, I've got this problem that I'm having with, with a machine or with a process. Like, what are you guys doing to fix this? And someone will be like, oh yeah, talk to Joe, right? Or talk
Joe
to Sally.
knows, he's been there.
Joe knows, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's super interesting. It's funny, reminds me of a book I've been reading, The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, and he talks about kind of thinking big picture and not so much in a zero-sum game, but in growing the industry, and that having kind of like a worthy rival, not a competitor, but other people that each push each other to be better. It sounds like ACM gives you a platform where you're kind of everyone's pushing each other to be their best self and be supportive, even though sometimes we are competitive.
One of the things the ACM does, which I think is really, I don't know if it's unique, but I derive a ton of value out of it, is we have a wage and benefit survey. And so we poll the ACM. It's a voluntary survey. Anyone who fills out the survey will actually get a copy of it. But it's a way to be able to benchmark your salaries and your positions against your peer companies. And I think that's a way that you're sharing information in a confidential way. You're getting something that you would not get from the outside.
Sure.
But it's also information that helps everyone. It helps everyone become a better company.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. So, you just going back a little bit to the speaking with a single voice, and I think with your role as president of ACM, you're maybe uniquely qualified to mention this. But from Made in America, we talk to a lot of different manufacturers, and there is no doubt that aerospace and defense play huge parts in Connecticut manufacturing. But a lot of people will be quick to point out they're not the only things in manufacturing in Connecticut. Do you feel like there is enough of a one voice to what ACM fights for on the state level benefits everybody, not just aerospace?
It's a good question. I mean, we're so aerospace focused. I think we're probably pretty selfish about that. But I think in general, workforce development and advanced manufacturing will affects all sorts of manufacturing sectors. I do know that in speaking with Colin and his position, that he is taking manufacturing across the entire state as his mandate. And so while aerospace, I think, is strong, it is not the only game in town. And so, they're cognizant of it. In terms of the ACM, I think we're hoping like a rising tide lifts all boats.
Sure.
We know where we are just because of our size. We have 118 companies, in this concentrated region. So that's our focus. But in general, I think, the more we can get advanced manufacturing knowledge and education and workforce out there, it helps everyone in manufacturing.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Workforce, yes. Right? It's the battleground of the future.
It really is.
And we're going to rise and fall, I think, together. Just really quickly, we had the superintendent of Wallingford Schools on. They're doing some really interesting things in Wallingford and partnering with their companies Are you engaged in Plainville? Is Plainville making a move to engage with the business community and help kind of build their students and get that workforce developed even on the micro local level?
There were several Plainville schools here,
great.
Which was great to see.
That's fantastic.
So I'm new to Plainville, but kind of have it on my kind of to-do list to engage with the city and to go to the schools and to sort of say, hey, we're here, we're local. If you don't do that, I think you're really missing out. And I think the business community needs to really engage, on that brass tacks level. Just be like, hey, we're here, we're a resource. What can we do? Come do a field trip. Come see what we do.
Do you see that as something that's sort of new in the business community now, realizing that we need as business people to engage more?
It's a good question. I think on some level, the companies that have always gotten it have done that. I think my dad, I remember back in the 70s, he would tell me stories about the 70s. He would go to schools, he would go to high schools, he would talk to people about it. I think that, I think it's becoming more of an expectation that you need to be engaging.
What is old is now new again?
Yeah, I think so. But also, if you're talking to, I think the ACM also started this 20 years ago with, if these manufacturing programs are in existence and you don't have a seat on the table, they may be going in a direction that's not constructive to anyone.
Correct. They think that they're developing something, but without understanding the customer, meaning the companies, they might be developing people in the completely wrong way.
Exactly.
That's really interesting. Listen, I mean, have you been to these other shows? It seemed to me like there was a lot of energy in the show, and there still is a lot of energy in the show today. Do you see the energy building at this annual ACM show year over year?
This show, I think we blew the doors off.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at the difference. 5 years ago, we were in a hotel outside of the airport, with barely any room to move. And there was still obviously palpable energy there. But this show really is a different beast. I think it sets us at a new level of expectation of where we should be to go from here. And I think that it shows that, we need to keep making this a priority.
Absolutely. And it's nice to be able to do it. This beautiful building, right here in Connecticut, right, with room to grow.
Definitely.
And do you think that the energy that you're seeing and the growth in the trade show is a reflection of the path manufacturing Connecticut is on?
Definitely. I think, we had the speaker at lunch today, Richard Aboafia, who was speaking on the aerospace side, but he basically said, I don't see anything that is going to derail this for the next 10 years. This is going to happen.
Super exciting.
And when you have an analyst whose job is to talk about risk and to talk about this stuff, telling you something pretty unequivocally this is real, this is happening, and it's, I don't see anything that's going to knock it off its perch. That's an important thing for everyone to hear, because manufacturing, and especially aerospace, has been so cyclical and has been this boom and bust scenario. And I think most people who have grown up in it have seen that for years. I certainly saw it, with my dad over the years. So I think that the fact that we're in this super cycle that's going to keep going, that we're going to need it. This is real. It's not going away. It's not going overseas.
Yep.
Connecticut is going to be doing this stuff.
Yeah, that was super exciting.
Yeah.
And it just really bodes super well for the future. So that's awesome. Pedro, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. This was
Best
awesome.
of luck with Hygrade.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you're doing for ACM and for manufacturing in Connecticut.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks.
Hey, Michael, thank you so much for coming on the Made in America podcast live from the ACM trade show today.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so listen, what are you guys showing off, Forrest Machine? What are you showing off in your booth today?
Some parts we've made. We have some nice swag as well. Pop sockets are very popular, as well as we've got some airplanes that we're giving away. So
Wait, real live airplanes?
Stress ball airplanes.
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Nothing I can actually go on vacation in then.
No.
All right, what are your guys' goals from participating in the trade show today?
We just want to reach out to students, administrators this morning, and make sure that they're aware of job opportunities within the industry across the board, not only direct manufacturing and machining, but within quality engineering, planning, all aspects of the organization. And there's a very great need right now. We're competing with our customers and people in this room for help.
Yep.
And it's our job as a group to make sure that we help bring along the talent level within our state, being that there's such a great need.
Huge demand for that. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's like, 15, 16, almost 2,000 students kind of walking through today, all different ages, right? I've met 14-year-old kids all the way to people in college. So you guys are seeing an opportunity to really invest and educate people even at the kind of high school level?
Yes. And we've done internships on the high school level and with the technical colleges. And we've been doing that for quite some time, and it's been very successful.
No kidding.
We have graduates that are still employees of our company, ones that have become key employees of our company.
Do you guys? So you're doing internships or some type of work program even with kids in high school?
Yes, typically we'll work to the format that the school has. So whatever it may be. Certain community colleges have different internship formats, and high schools do too. I've done work with technical high schools where they have 1 day week in class and the next week in shops. So when they have shop, instead of going to their shop, they come to ours.
Oh, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So really give them that kind of like real world experience to see if it really matches for them and vice versa. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. So talk a little bit about the growth in Forrest Machine. I mean, how much employee growth has there been in the last few years?
Very considerable. I want to say about 3 or 4 years ago, we went over 50 employees. So we had 49 for quite a while.
Okay.
And now we're at 75.
No kidding.
A year and a half ago, we moved into a brand new facility. We built from the ground up, 55,000 square feet. We were previously in 17,000 square feet. At the time, we invested $1.5 million in brand new equipment.
Yep.
So we had a lot of jobs to fill, and we're still looking to add more jobs.
No kidding.
There's a lot of opportunity on the front end of our company, quality, engineering, planning, just all that is necessary in order to support the growth. And obviously, there'll be a lot of direct machining jobs available as well.
So real opportunities to get a long-time career in manufacturing. Do you see the boom in kind of jobs and manufacturing going on for some time to come?
Yes, I think so. And I think the role of automation is going to help foster that even more, because that's going to make us more competitive globally. Being able to make a more efficient process, and the amount of need for skilled labor is going to be very considerable.
So you're thinking the automation is actually going to drive more job growth?
Yes.
No kidding.
Yes, because it's going to make us competitive globally.
And how do you see that? Like, how are you taking advantage of automation at Forrest Machine right now?
Right now, we're at the beginning of it, so we're looking at process variation with what we're doing, and understanding how long certain tools will last in order to make sure that we can efficiently and properly implement automation.
Sure.
We have some machines that will spit out a part complete right now. Obviously, there'll be some integration of robotics with many of the processes that we do as well.
So you're a believer in Industry 4.0?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Where do you see ACM, since we're at the ACM show, how do you see Forrest Machine's membership in ACM benefiting your business?
Well, we share technology, and discussions are very open and honest. We understand that as a group, we may compete against each other a little bit, but we're competing globally as a group. And the strength of the ACM as a whole is going to help put us on another level as far as technical knowledge base is concerned. And we have such a considerable technical knowledge base in Connecticut because we've always been very aerospace oriented, and just helping drive that more innovation and move us forward as a group, I think, is very important. And that's helped us considerably over the years.
How long have you guys been in the ACM?
I can't tell you the exact year, but I could tell you the first time I did this show, there was about 40 companies.
Okay.
And
what are we up to now? Well over 100. Yeah. That's fantastic. So a lot of growth there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, do you find ACM, you just touched on knowledge sharing, that having a trade industry group where you guys kind of work together really helps lift everybody in the group. Do you also see kind of business development opportunities coming out of the group
absolutely,
as well?
Yeah. There's a lot of networking within the ACM.
Yeah.
Not only business development opportunities, but if I have a process I need to have done, I could go talk to somebody in the ACM and get help with it.
Sure.
We support each other a lot in order to manufacture what we do for our customers. Our company is very focused on cutting metal. That's what we're the best at.
Yep.
And all the other stuff is done by other companies in this room.
Right.
Heat treatment, non-destructive testing, plating, so on and so forth. So we rely on the companies within the ACM for their services, and being able to help collaborate is fostered by the ACM.
That's really that's super fantastic. And what do you think the ACM does to impact kind of the economic quality and development in the state of Connecticut in general. How has that trade group kind of helped Aerospace Alley grow?
I think we have all these smaller companies. There's a lot of big companies in the ACM as well, but it's a voice for us. So there are so many jobs in Connecticut that are manufacturing, and people think of Pratt & Whitney United Technologies, and they don't realize there's all these other manufacturing companies that are helping support our economy, and it's really a voice for our industry.
Do you think the energy at the show today really reflects the energy in aerospace and manufacturing in general today?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And what do you think makes Connecticut, I mean, you guys are growing, what do you think makes Connecticut a great place to be in manufacturing today?
Most importantly, the knowledge base that we have and the fact that we're all, in this one small area. I've been out to Rolls-Royce in Indianapolis, and I've talked to suppliers that they have out there, and they're jealous when I talk about the fact that I could send a non-destructive testing within a 10-mile radius of our shop. I have 5 different sources that I could use.
Yep.
And they're sending stuff across the country to do processes like that. So we have better lead times, better knowledge base, and we have all this, congested in a small area. Within this room, there's a capability to build every part on an engine.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
That is incredible. And all within 50 miles
yes.
of here, which is pretty amazing. And we've got this great facility, that they built some years ago. Now we can host a show like this here locally, which is really fantastic.
Yeah.
So let me ask you one final question, Michael. If I gave you the magic wand and you could make one change that would really drive business even faster and further in Connecticut, what change would you make?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah. Just thought of it right now, so.
Something related to job growth.
Yeah. Workforce development?
Workforce development. We're starving for talent.
Starving.
And just some way to help foster knowledge and development of skilled people in manufacturing. I think that would be the biggest impact.
That would be the biggest thing that could happen to help Forrest Machine. And you think this is probably also true of your brethren in the ACM?
Absolutely,
is workforce development. We need more people wanting to get in manufacturing, help us grow those jobs and help us keep growing those businesses.
Yes.
There you go. Let's leave it there. Michael, thank you so much for coming on. We'll see what we can do to help build that workforce.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Jeff, thanks so much for coming on the live at the ACM Trade Show, Made in America podcast, man. It's great to have you back on the show.
It's awesome to be here.
So, listen, man, we're at ACM, so first thing I want to know is, what are you guys showing off in your booth today at the ACM Trade Show?
So we have a double wide, I'll call it, double wide booth. So on my side, we're showing off the laser cladding, laser additive manufacturing, and then on the other side, we have joining technologies that do the EB and electron beam welding and the laser welding. So that's what we're showing
so
today.
You guys have some parts here and just kind of showing off the manufacturing process you guys are doing?
Yeah, specifically for aerospace. So it's been good.
Yeah. Is this your guys' first time attending the trade show?
We did this a few years back. We kind of got out of it for a little while, but then we found it was going to be more beneficial to get back in because now we got our FAA, we're NADCAP, so it made sense.
That's fantastic. And so when you come here to a show like this, what are your goals for participation?
Our goals this year was to let everyone know we're FAA, we're NADCAP, and we're ready to go.
Sure.
And so hopefully the aerospace market is ready for our technology, and we'll see what happens.
That sounds great. This morning, as I'm sure you know since you were here, there was 1,500 students, of all ages, right, from middle school all the way into college that were here, trying to kind of really, I think, sing the praises of manufacturing and manufacturing careers. How'd you guys find that? What was kind of your goals in engaging with those kids? I
think for us, it was more educating them on the technology that we do. They seemed very interested in what we did. They had no clue it even existed. So I spoke actually with some of the teachers, some of the college professors, and I said, hey, bring your students down. We'll give them a tour. We'll kind of seeing is believing. They can kind of see what we do and get more interested in manufacturing. So that was our goal this morning.
What do you guys do in terms of right now? Do you guys engage either on the American Cladding side or on the joining technology side? Do you guys kind of engage with kids at the middle school, high school, or college level? Any kind of work study stuff? Are you guys engaged in that level?
Yeah, so in East Granby, we're based out of East Granby, so we work with the high school there. When we bring in some interns. I'm actually part of, it's called the BAE board at Southwick High School in Massachusetts. That's where I graduated. Actually, the founder or one of the members was here today. So, I'm on that. The kids come in. They see the technology, the manufacturing. So that's kind of how we do it. It's a little bit difficult. because we deal with lasers as far as bringing kids on as interns.
Right.
But bringing them in, kind of showing them what we do is definitely beneficial.
Sort of goal to get them interested in a career in manufacturing, show them what's going on.
I mean, kids these days they think welding's like stick welding, it's dirty, but it's definitely not like that now with the new technology.
And so what have you found receptivity-wise in terms of like that workforce development with the younger generation? Are they receptive to what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think, people talk a lot about millennials, but these kids are smart. I mean, they seem to be engaged and want to learn. So I don't think there's any laziness that I've seen. So kids are definitely interested.
Do you think the generation having grown up with like iPads, computers, and all that tech, knowing how high-tech kind of what you guys do is having a generation that sort of grew up with computers and mobile phones and all that stuff, internet as like the only thing that ever existed, is that helpful, do you think?
Absolutely. Actually, I had a kid come up to my booth today, said he was, he's interested in, computers, software, said, we have robots, we need people to program them. So absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. So a lot of hope maybe in this new generation to help us build that workforce. So I know that you just kind of got back engaged with the ACM trade show, but have you guys been engaged with ACM, the Aerospace Component Manufacturers, as a trade organization? Do you guys get involved in the events outside of sort of the trade part of it? The trade show part?
We go to all the meetings on the business development side and then the technology side. So yeah, we're full members now. So
what do you see as the value? Maybe start off in general with being a part of a trade organization. Like, what's the value to the business of sort of being in a group like this?
You understand where the market's going. You have the insight into that. Material fluctuation, pricing, things like that, and just really the networking. So getting people to understand what you do and what they do and kind of see if you can work together.
So is it a combination of learning to make your business better? Is there also business development? Like, do you have customers you're getting out of those relationships?
We just started, so I think it's getting to just the relationship status now, and then hopefully in the future that it develops into something. But actually, we've used some of the members as suppliers. So
there you go.
Yeah, it's definitely worked out.
So really building up sort of that ecosystem approach.
Yep, and it's local.
Yeah.
So,
and you see that as a value?
Absolutely.
In terms of trade associations that you've been in and that you're involved in, how does the ACM rank in terms of engagement level and the ability to drive value to members?
It's probably the best. We're an aerospace alley. That's the market we want to be in.
Right.
So it's definitely been the best, membership that we've been a part of.
You'd encourage other people to, if they're not involved, get involved?
Absolutely.
So what do you think about the energy at the trade show today? Have you seen a lot of energy and excitement kind of around aerospace and aerospace manufacturing?
Again, this morning was a bunch of kids, so it was kind of hard. So we'll see how it is this afternoon.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a lot of energy about manufacturing and aerospace manufacturing in Connecticut currently right now?
Absolutely. I mean, we just had a really nice lunch and a lot of the guest speakers that spoke, a lot of positivity. The market seems to be up. It seems to be trending that way, still. So it seems like that's, where it's going.
So just a final question, Jeff. Why do you think Connecticut's a good place for manufacturers to be doing business today?
It's the hub. I mean, especially with aerospace, it's the hub of aerospace, and that's where all the knowledge is. So
knowledge is where it's at for the future of being competitive. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Jeff, thanks for coming on and spending some time, man.
Thanks.
Good to see you again. Okay, Colin, thank you so much for stopping by the Made in America live from the ACM trade show. I really appreciate your time today.
Happy to be here. This is an awesome event today.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, but things are bustling around here. And I know in your kind of new role as the chief marketing officer or manufacturing officer for the state of Connecticut, it's a little bit different than your days at Whitcraft. So what's your goals in attending the ACM trade show today?
Well, this morning, the trade show is in two parts, as you probably know. The morning is really focused on the kids, getting students in here, seeing what's going on in aerospace, talking to some of the companies and whatnot, and then the afternoon is more sort of a traditional trade show where there's a fair amount of there's a lot of interconnectivity in the supply base in aerospace, very specialized processes. So there are companies here that may just do non-destructive testing, and a lot of their clients are other companies here.
Right.
And there are companies that do coating and people who sell special fasteners. So there's a tremendous amount of interconnectivity in the Connecticut aerospace supply base. And this is an opportunity for people to talk about what's going on, to market their services to each other. And then there are ultimate customers from the OEMs, people like Pratt and GE who come to this also. So morning is really focused on students. afternoon is more traditional trade show. I was here this morning, came over when the governor came over, and was talking with him, shortly before he came in here, telling him about the event and what to expect. But I think we walked in, and I know I was blown away, and you could see that he was blown away when he came in here. 1,400 students this morning. It was a beehive of activity. And just the energy was palpable. I mean, it was great, and it wasn't just high school kids that were here. It was middle school kids. They're working to try to get the message out.
I agree with
that.
As
the governor said, manufacturing is lean, green, and
clean.
clean.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the.
And he liked that. I think I got that catchphrase from you.
You did get that from me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was wondering who I had to give attribution for that, but the governor used that this morning.
Did he?
Yes.
There you go.
And then he also said it's not only green in terms of environmentally, but it's green in terms of compensation.
There you go.
The average wages in manufacturing are much higher than across the state in general.
Just really quickly, how important is work? I mean, listen. So I want to talk to you about kind of two different things. I mean, you're a 20-year veteran of manufacturing and aerospace manufacturing in Connecticut, so you've got a deep wealth of knowledge there. I know you've been involved with ACM in that capacity. So I'm going to ask you about that. But before we get there, in your new role as sort of the chief manufacturing officer in Connecticut, where does workforce rank in your list of priorities?
Well, I joke that workforce is number 1 on the priority list, it's number 2 on the priority list, and it's number 3. Look, there are a whole bunch of other things that we're looking at. Things from regulation, access to capital, just a host of other issues. Transportation is big issue right now. But in terms of sort of tactically and immediate needs, workforce is really at the top of the list. And it's not just in aerospace, particularly acute in aerospace, but it's across the manufacturing base in Connecticut. I've been out. I'm 3 weeks into the job, and as you know, I've seen you at a number of events, whether it's the New Haven Manufacturers Association or the Connecticut Toolmakers Association, or the small manufacturers out in the western part of the state. And the there's a consistent theme is that we need qualified workers. In Connecticut, we're looking for economic development. The hard part is generating the demand for the jobs. Well, the people in manufacturing, the companies have done that.
Yes.
They have. They've gone out. They've created the demand. The jobs are there. We just need qualified people to fill them.
Well, look, let me just say this at the outset. I think of the two problems you want to have, we have the one we'd rather have.
Yes,
right?
It's a high-class
problem. Right. We'd rather have the jobs and be trying to find the people than the people and not have the jobs. Right. Connecticut's seen that before. We don't want to go back to that. So I think we're in the new. We're at the new movie, right? In this case, the sequel is going to be better than the original.
Right.
So I think the question. I realize you're only 3 weeks in. You do have the advantage of having over 2 decades or close to 2 decades of experience running a business. So what do you see the governor or this administration doing to help engage in that workforce development? And how does a trade show like ACM doing what they did this morning, bringing in kids, help you or not help you in that endeavor?
Well, okay, so 2 separate questions. In terms of, I'm 3 weeks into working in this administration, and what I'll tell you is I've been very impressed with the quality of people that the governor has brought in. And it's a combination of sort of new people with business backgrounds, with sort of market-based solutions, as well as there's just a really good core of people, many of whom were here before, who are working in government, who are very capable in terms of, taking thought and converting it into action. You're making the trains run on time.
Which is an important part of governing.
Right. You need that combination. You need the new thinking and new approaches with pragmatic people who can actually get things done. So it's a good mix. I've been very impressed with the caliber of people I've met, and then I've also been pleased to note that there is a high degree of awareness within state government on the importance of manufacturing because of its growth prospects, because it is these are good jobs.
Yeah.
They're not just jobs, they're careers.
That's right.
And so there's also a high multiplier for manufacturing. Each manufacturing job supports a multiple of other jobs in other parts of the economy. Much more so, manufacturing's got a much higher multiplier than most other areas. So
higher up on the food chain, as it were, in kind of economic activity.
And so there is there is a real acknowledgement within state government that manufacturing is important to the state. And that it needs to be continued to be supported.
Yeah.
Look, we've got 160,000 people in the state that work in manufacturing. It's a significant industry in the state.
Absolutely.
Over 4,000 companies. But what that means is the average company is relatively small.
Yeah.
It's 40 people, but if you take out the large OEMs like Pratt and Sikorsky and Electric Boat, the average size is probably 30 people.
Yeah.
So those companies don't have a tremendous amount of resources, and the state's got a role to play, and particularly a role to play in workforce development.
Well, the good news is that those smaller businesses, right, if you look at the economic landscape, those smaller businesses tend to be where the jobs are created. Those businesses get engaged in the local community, which I think is great for quality of life. So if we can find a way to help fill this pipeline, help those companies grow, some really great stuff that could be happening in the state of Connecticut. And I think manufacturers in general, the ones I'm talking to, not to put too much on your shoulders, but they're very excited about having you in this role and having you be our voice kind of in state government to help people see what they need to do to help manufacturers, kind of grow and participate in all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are excited to have somebody inside state government that comes to work every day saying, "What can we do to help the manufacturing community?"
Yeah.
And that's the essence of my role.
How does a trade show like today help the manufacturing ecosystem and help? You said workforce is priority 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
How does the thing we did this morning here at ACM by bringing in all these students, and I think you did such a great job of saying it wasn't just like these private companies aren't just engaged in people that they could hire today or tomorrow. We're talking middle school kids, early high school, as well as later high school and college. How does the ACM engaging in that type of exposure help your job and help the case for manufacturers in Connecticut overall?
That's a great question. So you look at the landscape today. We've got on the order of 5,000 to 10,000 open manufacturing positions today. Looking forward, I estimate we're going to need 6,000 to 8,000 a year for the foreseeable future. A lot of that's driven by the aged workforce that we have in manufacturing. 35% of our workers are over 55 years old. So there's a lot of attrition in that age group. So we need a lot of new entrants into the manufacturing workforce to replace that. And then we also need to skill them up once they come. But so then you look at the other side of the equation is what is our capacity to train kids, not just kids, but mid-career people, anybody who's interested in manufacturing, what's our capacity to train them to get them ready to enter the workforce? And our capacity is much lower than what our demand is. Again, it's a high-class problem. The demand is there. But so when you look at sort of, well, what are the constraints to that supply chain of talent into the manufacturing workforce, one of the constraining factors is getting enough kids interested in going into those programs that exist today. We need to expand the capacity of the programs that are out there, but we need to make sure that we're fully subscribed or oversubscribed of people going into that talent
driving
pipeline.
Sort of demand.
Yes.
We've got demand on the employer side, maybe demand on the potential employee side too.
Right, yeah, to get into the pipeline, to get the training, and then get enter into a career. So workshops like this morning, showcases like this, they're getting the word out there.
Yeah.
And letting kids know, again, manufacturing, it's lean, clean, and green.
There you go.
That it's a career, not just a job, and just making that awareness. Look, I'm sure I know you. I know it in 8th grade. You didn't know what you wanted to be when you grew up, and I didn't know what I wanted to be.
Right.
But this is just getting this manufacturing in front of the kids to think of, maybe that is something that I want to do. Because, look back 10 years ago, people just never thought of that. It was an afterthought. And now it's getting to the front of people's thinking, saying, this is a real option for me, and getting kids interested in that career. And so it's got to start early. And unfortunately, I say it would be great if we had busloads full of parents and busloads full of educators, too.
That's right.
Now, there were parents here this morning,
Yep.
and there are a lot of, in the education community, the word's getting out, and so it doesn't always have to be the traditional college track, and certainly manufacturing needs kids going through those 4-year programs.
No doubt about it.
but we need kids coming through 2-year programs, and we need kids coming through the technical schools. We need it all.
Which is great, because I think different people have different skill sets and proclivities, and we've got an opportunity in manufacturing to elicit all of it. You want to go to a 4-year degree and get engineering, mechanical engineering, computer engineering, even to be honest. We have jobs for that. You just have mechanical aptitude. You want to do a 1-year cert or a 2-year cert. We have jobs, more like, to your point, careers for that. Really, really exciting time to be, I think, participating in manufacturing. I want to turn a little bit to your history. You very successfully and another partner grew the Whitcraft Group from a smallish one location in Eastford, Connecticut, into a multi-location, multi-state, big player in the aerospace, and big player in aerospace in Connecticut and really nationally. And you were part of ACM, I believe, the entire time you owned the Whitcraft Group. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, yeah. Shortly after we bought Whitcraft, we joined up. I think it was formed in 1998. And we joined in either 99 or 2000. So, unfortunately, I was not part of sort of the original 6 who we owe a lot of this
the Godfathers?
to. Yes, yeah. But joined shortly thereafter, yeah.
So you joined it. You're a smart business guy. You got into this thing with a passion to grow manufacturing. Why did you join ACM? What was the value you saw in joining this association?
Well, I think, the strength in numbers, you come in, while I had worked in aerospace, I certainly had not run a business in aerospace before. I had been a design engineer. And so just the ability to work and interact with other business leaders who are running businesses, to understand what their issues are, understand how they're approaching it. What's really interesting about the ACM is the collaborative nature. On some level, all of these companies compete with each other, but on a very fundamental level, they all cooperate with each other. And I've always been struck by that. And I think, I'm not a student of different industry clusters, but I think this has been a particularly successful one because of the nature of collaboration here. And at this point, there's enough work to go around for everyone, so we don't need to kill each other. But back in 98, 99, 2000, things were not like this.
No.
And so you would think that there would be real hesitancy for companies to come together and collaborate. And it's a collaboration at a very granular level. I mean, people are running Kaizen events in their facilities and inviting other members into their facilities to participate in that. People at the business development meetings, the people are talking about trade shows they went to or supplier conferences they went to and where the opportunities are. And I'm still 20 years later struck with the collaborative nature of this group. But obviously
look at the
it's worked.
result. Yeah, I mean, listen.
Yeah.
A lot of people say the proof is in the pudding, and I think what's so interesting, and I've been big on this kind of in general, is I wish that the 169 or whatever the number of towns we have in this small state are, I wish they would take the approach that the ACM members had taken to realize that working together, we can do a whole lot more than trying to fight for little scraps off the table. We're competing not with each other, but with the globe.
Right.
And if we're fighting, the Whitcraft Group is fighting with ACMT and Spartan Aerospace and all the other great companies, in the area, we're not going to get anywhere, and we're going to just have nothing. But together, look what we've been able to accomplish. It's really exciting. And ACM, I think, has been a big part of that.
Yeah. Now, make no mistake, we all compete. Those are two people we compete vigorously against.
Of course.
But on another level, we're very clear. I was over talking to the folks from Spartan this morning, or just earlier this afternoon. I know Michael Polo for ACMT. Really respect what they've at both of those companies, what they've done, building and growing those companies. And
they compete with each other, and they're on the same street.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a bit incestuous in this industry, but so there's vigorous competition, but really. But look to cooperate where we can and where it makes sense. And you're right. It's Connecticut's part of the global supply chain. There's enough work to go around in the world. If we can cooperate and increase our market share for Connecticut relative to other states, relative to other countries, then we're all better off. And that certainly has happened over the last 20 years.
That's fantastic. There's been so much energy at this show today, I think, from this morning, even this afternoon. It's a bustle of activity. You referenced it before. Do you think that activity is a reflection of the manufacturing ecosystem in Connecticut and where we've been or where we're going?
Oh, I think it's where we're going. Everybody, you know, all these business leaders, they're looking forward. They're not looking backwards. So, you know, it's not riskless. I mean, Connecticut companies have been, in aerospace, I'll talk about specifically because we're here today, have been very successful in capturing significant market share on the next generation programs. And those things include Pratt & Whitney's geared turbofan, Pratt & Whitney's F-135 engine, CFM's, which is a joint venture between Safran Group and GE, their LEAP program.
Yep.
Those are the three biggest, fastest growing engine programs in aviation today.
Sure.
Connecticut companies have captured significant market share on that, and now those programs are ramping, and we need to perform on that.
Yeah.
Again, it's a high class problem.
Yes.
But if we don't perform on that, that demand that goes unmet is going to go elsewhere. That demand will be met.
Yeah.
We've captured it now. We need to execute on it and make sure we keep it. So there's a window right now, and that's, again, it comes back to workforce, having the right people with the right skills to do the work that we need to do now that we've won it to satisfy our customers. And you know, people are enthusiastic because Richard Abulafa was here today talking about the macro trends in aerospace, which are very favorable. But trust me, there are a lot of people here that are lying awake at night worrying about now that they've captured it all. You know, now we've got to execute.
We're from Connecticut, Colin.
Right.
We're gonna worry.
Yeah,
right?
We're gonna worry, and we're the land of steady habits.
That's right.
Right.
So listen, just so we wrap up this quick little interview, I'm just curious. What do you see in the future? You have a unique perch from your new role as CMO in Connecticut, and I know you're new, but you've been in the manufacturing landscape. Are you optimistic about our ability to meet the workforce demands in the years ahead?
Yes, yeah. Look, it's not. You're not just going to wave a magic wand. You know, the governor has convened the Governor's Workforce Commission. Our inaugural meeting is tomorrow. I'll be working and chairing the manufacturing part of that subcommittee on that. But this is a group, and Commissioner Lehman talked about it earlier today. This is a group that's geared towards action. There are 13 company CEOs as part of that, as well as people from labor and education, various different stakeholders in the Connecticut economy. But it's a holistic, action-oriented approach. So. Again, nobody's going to wave a magic wand. A lot of work has to be done, a lot of heavy lifting, but people are focused on it now. And again, in the spectrum of issues to have, that's a high-class issue.
Listen, and I think I speak for a lot of the manufacturers, or all the manufacturers I've spoke to, and I'm sure the bulk of manufacturers in Connecticut, when I say that we are so happy to have you in the position that you're in, fighting the good fight for us, and that positivity and bringing it to us. I think with your leadership and your help and what's happening with groups like ACM and other places, the future is really, really bright for manufacturing in Connecticut.
Yeah, that's what I'm banking on.
Thanks a lot, Colin.
All right, thanks.
Made in America with Ari Santiago is brought to you by IT Direct.
As always, thanks so much for tuning in. I definitely want your feedback and hope you subscribe. But what I want the most is to build a community where we learn and grow with each other. I hope you're getting a lot of value out of the time we're spending together. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you next time.